once again, this is Crow Central. Welcome back to Champions Online with our little Let's Play here. Well, I went ahead and double checked my equipment is still just junk, nothing new to equip. But that being said, let's go ahead and get a move on and slaughter some of these bad guys, etc. You know, the usual. Might as well teleport faster or closer to them so I can get a little bit, get this done faster and all that. I still miss City of Heroes teleportation. I understand this has some a little more control over it, but it's also slower and feels more like intermittent flight than actual teleportation. So, to each their own, right? Alright, you can either pick this up or blast the waste barrel, but you gotta get it off the guy's leg. Like shin or something, I guess. Looks like there's an extra copy of it there. Oh well. Let's talk to this guy. Oh man, I need help. Okay. Can you get me out of here? If I can make it back to Professor Serralo, I'll be safe, but I know those... Brain, work. I know these mutant monsters will jump me if I start moving. Can you keep them off me? I will give it my best shot. And apparently I'm doing a poor job at first, but that's because, well, for one, I'm trying to pick something up. For another, yeah, you also supposed to pick up that crate. I probably should have done that before I talked to him. I always forget that, it seems. It irritates me. Now, there will be an ambush even if you clear these guys out. Well, as they say, speak of the devil. In this case, the crazed idiot. So just go ahead. Now, as long as we're getting that heal going, it's pretty easy to escort him. Unlike the annoying police officer mission, he's not trying to pick a fight with everyone who comes along, so it's much easier. You still gotta watch out, but it's much reasonable. That police officer mission was so much of a wreck. Actually, that one, it's not quite what you might think, because originally it was specifically stated to be a two-man mission because of how hard it was, and they didn't actually change it. When they removed it from two-man to one-man, it's still the same difficulty, and it was marked there not because of difficult enemies, but because of just trying to keep the loser alive. Alright, he's almost back. A few seconds more. There we go. Let's see, same sentences. Oh, excellent. The driver survived. All due to your heroic effort, no doubt. And this way. Ah, thank you, Zaragos. It's actually quite lucky you came by. I just thought of how to perfect my serum right after I put it on the truck. Just in time, too. Okay. Ready for a search and rescue mission, friend? Primus sent a squad of soldiers to deal with a mutated irradiate some time ago. They haven't reported back, and if those poor men have had prolonged exposure to those glowing pools, radiation sickness should start kicking in any time, followed by rampant mutation. They'll need to be dosed with my serum. If you run out and need more, well, you know where to find me. Yeah, sure enough. They're pretty easy to find. You just look for guys like this. They're just in the middle of a group of people like this. You generally need to, like your attacks can be interrupted, so you're going to need to actually take some time to clear these guys out first. But if you're too slow, the guy will turn into a mutant. It starts a timer, from what I can tell, and it starts when you get close enough. And if you take too long, he will turn into a mutant and will attack you. And then you can't get quest credit for it anymore. Alright, so there's a lot of stuff around here, but you see that nuke over there? That does go off every now and again. I think I skipped a sign earlier. I'll probably catch it later, but don't worry. There's actually a few copies of it around, so it's not one of the harder ones to find. I don't know why, but it feels like... Oh, durr. Oh, I got a vehicle modification. Alright, so here's the deal with vehicles. Vehicles are basically travel powers that you activate from your toolbar type thing, or your equipment bar. For your, temporary items, etc. Only it's not going to run out. And you can give them some minor equipment. They can fight, but they're never going to be as good as you are. That's just how it's set up. Unless you have an absolutely pathetic loser of a build. Sorry, I shouldn't say it that way, but unless your build is really, really weak, it's not going to be able to you know, these vehicles can't compete. Now, admittedly, some people don't have a choice of build. They have to choose, you know, silver characters where they don't get freeform. In which case, you got a perfectly good excuse. Anyways, you'll see a swarm of radiants around here worshipping it not too long before the event has it explode. So, I think what we're going to do here is just start wiping these guys out. And anyways, I was wondering, well, why is it taking me so long to regenerate everything? Well, yeah, I have pets. I mean, I've just begun, but I do have them. It does slow you down. Your endurance recovery makes things cost more, too. So it's just one of those things. It's the trade-off they tried to implement to effectively get that set up correctly. Speaking of getting it set up correctly, that is... Alright, yeah, that's an item I'm just gonna toss and sell. Alright, so that's another one. How much do I have? I have 3 of those I'm supposed to work with, so I should be able to find another along the way. In fact, I see one dead ahead. Yeah, that's one of the easier ones. There's a lot of excess, and if you want to be playing the hero part, role-playing or something, then you probably... Hello? Target the guy right in front of you. Thank you. Anyways, if you want to, you know, be more heroic and save them, then you can go get more, but it has no impact at that point other than just for fun. It really doesn't make an impact. But that's okay. Some people will do that. Most won't, but some people will. And there were some people who wanted to talk about it because what was happening is that they didn't feel very heroic when they had to leave people, you know, all the time behind, couldn't help them. And so they tried to change this by allowing you to just walk up to some guys who are part of other missions that you've completed or don't have yet, be able to help them anyways, but then it actually causes some trouble where you may actually, if there's enough people on, have some problems there with not having enough of the guys around, except there's not enough people playing the game for it to matter, so... And if there are, they're all going to be in Millennium City. That's what it seems to be anyways. So it's not so bad either way, though. Alright, let's go ahead. Kaboom. Oh, gotta block another attack. He's an animator, so he doesn't have to reanimate. He can create guys out of nowhere. I'm trying to use this attack because it's got some stun power on it. Now, every time you successfully stun that guy, they get stun resistance. And once it hits 3 stacks, they're completely immune. But they're like taking a lot less stun effect after each one. Same thing with holds. And I think knockback as well. So as a result, I would highly recommend, in all honesty, that if you do have something coming up like this, that once you've applied your effects to where they've stacked up to their maximum, that you just stop and switch to something else because it will no longer have a benefit. Alright, so in the center of this pool, alright, I can't fly, is this thing here. Unlike a lot of things, you can actually interact with it without being interrupted by taking damage, because you'll take damage from the pool, and a lot of times they're far enough down in the pool to where you couldn't do anything anyways, so there's not much you can do about it. You're going to take the damage, which is fine, you know, just how it is. Alright, let's go ahead and get our pets out of there, get them out of the pool of deadly liquid. Just siphon up some more soul. Yay. Anyways, so this is also a part of the game where it feels more repetitive to me, but you do have a lot to do, mind you, and most MMOs get to this point at some point or another. But it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. This is just one of those lulls in the action. Considering we just had a couple of boss fight type areas, so, you know. But it's not bad. Anyways, so now we got another one of those decontaminated. Let's go over here. You found someone to fight. Now, I am supposed to fight radiation eaters anyways, and this is the Atomic Wastelands, and either the Burning Sands or Atomic Wasteland both count towards mutant enemies, and we're up to 100. We have 150 to get, we're up to 80. So we're actually doing pretty well there. So, it's not so bad. That said, if we build up our stacks of compassion by blasting these guys, that'll be helpful. If you're taking a lot of attacks, in some cases, you may actually be able to build your endurance faster by blocking, but, you know, that's a limited effect. Has to be a fair number of attacks, or at least fairly damaging for it to matter. I believe it's based off the damage you're taking, that could be mistaken. Let's go ahead and get that going. Oh, that was one of the warheads you had to collect. Alright, poison pools is done. Don't have to get in the middle of the pools of damaging liquid anymore. That's kind of interesting. A lot of people don't know what radioactive waste is. But it just basically what happens is that when we use a nuclear reactor, we're basically using an effect similar to a microwave. We're sticking these, got another one of these to get. Anyways, we're sticking this extremely radioactive material in, basically, put it in rod form, and we dip it into the water, and it boils this water because of the radiation pretty fast. The water then, in turn, creates the steam, which then creates, because of the pressure and all that, it has to flow somewhere, and so it will then push a wheel, spin the wheel around. The wheel spinning motion is actually transferred into a specific kind of magnetic energy that generates electricity, which means that nuclear power is actually about boiling water to turn on the wheel. It's kind of funny, actually, but what happens is that radioactive material, naturally, decays over time. And so when it hits a certain point, it's still good, but not as efficient as they want. And so once it hits a certain level of efficiency, they just call it, basically. Well, I think I have some serum left over. I'll go ahead and, even though that's not part of the mission, because otherwise he'll turn into a monster and attack me. I don't feel like dealing with that. Anyways, this is glowing, but I think this mission's done. It's kind of strange. Just gonna let me keep doing it? Alright, whatever. Anyways, so basically, once it's degraded to a certain point, because it's no longer sufficient, they just get rid of it, just toss it. So what they do is, I guess they will put it into like these glass pellets, like marbles or something, and try to basically encase it partly, and then find a proper area to just dump it off and leave it there. Extremely dangerous and all that kind of stuff, but nuclear power plants cannot explode like a nuclear bomb, despite some misconceptions. Not even close. It's just not going to happen. That's not how they're designed. It's more like a microwave, except microwave's not really the same thing because there's a difference. Microwaves, radio waves, light waves, gamma rays, red, infrared, all this stuff, X-rays, gamma rays, and I think I mentioned some of that, ultraviolet, they're all the same energy, but at a different wavelength. And so, actually, radio waves, I believe, are on the low end of the spectrum. And then you've got, you go up to there, to microwaves, which is what actually cooks. So radio waves do not cook. Microwaves cook, but then, like, infrared waves don't cook. It's just a matter of they each act differently, and radiation is actually, or electron radiation, is actually based off the same basic concept. And, in fact, its X-rays and gamma rays are just the same thing. Light, natural everyday light, is the same energy, but at a specific wavelength, which you can't see most of it. There's actually a tiny spectrum that we can actually see. But when we talk about infrared, it's like below red in color as far as wavelength, and I believe ultraviolet is like above violet in, so talking about the, rainbow spectrum, etc. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That one. Roy G. Biv. Anyways, you saved the lives of a lot of good soldiers today. You've also performed a valuable field trial for my new serum. I'll be certain to credit you in my upcoming research paper. Okay, sure. We'll go ahead and get this done before I continue. Thank you, Sargos. If you hadn't taken care of those radiation eaters, we could have ended with another monster island on our hands, and I'm just not ready for that yet. Good work dealing with your Radiant's nuclear miscreancy. Okay, nuclear miscreancy, that's not something you hear every day. Though it does take some of the thrill out of my work here, it will make it easier to get research grants. Okay. Thanks for testing the solution on those radioactive pools, Aragos. I'm sure it didn't have any long-term side adverse effects on you. Say, on a completely different subject, would you mind standing 10 feet or so further away from me? I know you were sent to help us, Aragos, but we've received word that Dr. Dupree needs some help too. He's been investigating the radiation as well, but particularly the beast known as Grondlings. You can find him southwest of here on the other side of the atomic wastelands. He has set up a scientific research outpost over there, in a recess created by a large rock ridge. Go give him a hand, but don't take too long, as I'm sure there is more you can help with here. And sure enough, they will actually send you back here after a bit, but not for much more. Alright, so I'm going to see if I can grab along the way one of those things. The signs I was talking about. Anyways, but yeah, radiation. Okay, radiation is just not as complex as people think it is, actually. It's just kind of one of those funny things. That's kind of what was getting to me. Why I was talking about it. It just caught my attention. Actually, as a kid, I was put through the Boy Scout program, and it actually did a lot of good. But there's a lot of optional merit badges you have to get, and you get to choose. But some of them are actually pretty fun, and some not so, depending on what you like, I suppose. But like, for example, you can get archery, shotgun shooting, rifle shooting. Okay, not everyone likes that, but it's kind of an interesting thing. But how about this one? Nuclear power. There is a nuclear power merit badge. It's actually not as complex as you would think, not all that big a deal. Just kind of one of those things. Yeah, they followed me around. I was looking for a sign. So I'll just wipe them out real quick. With the help of all these guys, obviously. And they got my pets, too. Darn. Well, the pets were running around through when I was trying to hover over them. Let's go ahead and talk to this guy. Friend, I got one mission in life, and that's to bring down Grond. I need somebody with superpowers to put my plan to motion, and you'll fit the bill. I heard the director was sending someone to check my progress. I might need a bit of help with my work. Let me see. I almost have everything I need to complete my Grondling control device. All that I lack is up-to-date brain scan data. Obviously, the scanners had to be placed in proximity to Grondlings, and I can't exactly retrieve the data myself, not without being ripped to pieces. My brain scan devices are scattered around the abandoned research facility just east of here. Gotta collect those. The other scientists scoff, but I'm certain my neuron and electrode inhibitor is the key to controlling the Grondlings. Last prototype did not work, true, because it was not calibrated with the Grondlings' radiated plasma. But with some blood samples, there is no doubt I can perfect my prototype. Defeat Grondlings throughout the flats and greater density in the atomic wasteland to the north to obtain blood samples. So, beat the blood out of them, scrape it off the ground? I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to do it that way, but it's about what it reminds me of, the thought of, anyways. Alright. Should be... I thought I saw a sign here. See if I can read the sign without being attacked. The site of extensive nuclear testing by the government in the 1950s, this area is unfit for any sort of habitation due to deadly amounts of radiation. Side effects of this radiation include mutation, diminished capacity, and heightened aggression. Project Greenskin scientists are pursuing multiple avenues to clean up the waste and the toxicity of the atomic wasteland. They hypothesize that humans may be able to return here and experience no noticeable adverse effects from the radiation in as little as 1,000,000 years. Let's hope science deals with that sooner than 1,000,000. Yeah. Anyways, we'll go ahead and call it from here. You probably didn't need the radiation lesson, but it's just one of those things where it's actually a lot simpler. Neutrons flies out, strikes one of these atoms, splits off, and sends 2 more neutrons. There's your nuclear reaction. Mostly, a lot of the merit badge was about learning about the basic history, like who discovered radiation and some very basic concepts. Nothing spectacular. Then for the final part, we had to go to a place that actually used radiation at a workplace, which around here we have an experimental cancer therapy place, and so one of the guys who was working there would show that as well as some X-rays, which again uses radiation. And so that's just simple chemotherapy and radiation, and that was the last part of it. So it's actually a lot simpler than people would think. Sometimes I think concepts are scarier than they are difficult. Anyways, hope you're all having fun out there. I'll see you another time.